Okay, good morning. It's a little after 10. The House State Government Committee will come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Sells,
Here.
Representative Bedsole,
Here.
Representative Rogers, Dr. Boyd, Representative Butler, Representative Chestnut,
Here.
Representative Cole, Representative Keel, Representative Kirkland, Representative Lawrence,
Here.
Representative Paramore, Representative Shaw,
Here.
Representative Stahagen,
Here.
Representative Wood, Representative Yarborough. We have a quorum.
Okay, a quorum's present. We can conduct business at this time, and our first piece of business will be HB 2 by Representative Carnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been discussed a good bit, I think, among most of the parties, but this is concerning the BIR. The BIR was first introduced in the Fob James administration. That was 1978 to 82, in that range. The objective was to get the legislature to first and foremost take up the budgets. From 78 to 82 up until present, I think we know that has not been the case. So it has been something that was used as a tool for deliberation at times. It was used as a tool just to delay. Through the years, we made some changes to try to solidify and move this thing in a more current status. And
Now this related to the BIR only with local legislation.
local, this is strictly local legislation, and y'all have got a handout on this. And the handout explains a lot of things, but one of the things we did starting in about 2015 was going to a 32, it required 32 in local legislation, 32 affirmative votes on the BIR. They got to that by saying minimum quorum is 53, and if you take 60%, 3/5 of what it requires for a BIR vote, that came to 31.8. You round it off to 32. So we've been going with that for several years, and during that time, we continued to get lawsuits because if you look at 32 and then you have 6 others that vote another way, you still can have, if you've got, say, 60 that vote abstention, you can have 90 plus votes on there at any time. So some lawyers have picked that apart and said this is not in accordance with our Constitution. So our leadership in the House has gotten together and come up with this bill that I'm carrying for them. And it spells out basically we're doing 2 things. We're exempting local bills from this procedure for the 32 votes, and we're ratifying all the past BIR votes. If we don't do that, we're asking for many, many more lawsuits in the future.
Okay. And this is a constitutional amendment.
It is a constitutional amendment on the House floor. It will take 63 votes.
Mr. Chairman, at appropriate time, move for a favorable report.
No, I got a question for you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rogers.
That means for a local bill, you only need to pass BR. You just go through it like you want to go through, right? I mean,
Correct.
You're doing away with the BR for local.
We're doing away with the BIR for local bills.
All right. Well, that's good if they come to the local delegation. Now, we got another committee that takes the local bills. Also, there's not a local. It's not a local committee, right? I think I forgot who the chairman is, but they putting local bills in that delegation too now.
Any bill that's debated on the House floor when we're convening on the 5th floor, local bills will not require BIRs. If this passes, this will be on the ballot March 5th for the people to vote on, and if that takes place, this will be the new law of the land.
I think you missed my question. My question is, you got a committee now called Local Government Committee, right? I think who the chairman is, but it's Local Government Committee now. We used to have local government committee when you first started this, but now you got a committee called local government. So it comes out, either it's a local bill, a lot of bills have been going to local government instead of coming to the delegation bills. I know we had at least about 3 for Jefferson County go to the local government instead of coming through Jefferson County.
If
So
it
now,
is
would that
on,
affect it-
if
would-
it's
would
on
that
the
affect-
agenda as a local bill, there will be no BIR vote.
Yeah, it will not affect that, Mr. Rogers. It only affects the BIR.
Okay, even for the ones that go to the, I mean, you created a standing committee for local government now. You know that, don't you? We created a standing committee for local government,
There's a
right?
local legislation. Alan Baker's the chairman of it, yes, sir.
Yeah, you create a committee for that. So that means that if it either goes to that committee, you don't have to have a BR for it. That's a regular standing committee like Ways and Means and like everything else.
Well, okay, there are occasions where local bills for a multitude of reasons will go and come out as a general bill with local application.
So-
However, that is extremely rare.
No,
And if it comes out that way, it would have to have a BIR vote if it does not come up as a local bill.
Oh, okay, I understand that. Now, they explain it different now because of the fact that we used to have that committee, but now for the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a local legislative committee that people go around, the local legislature put in that committee. So it does not, you still got to have BIR for that, it comes out of that committee, right? Local government committee?
Every local bill has to go through local legislation.
No, it hasn't been happening that way. No, it hasn't. So anyway, it comes out of the local legislation committee.
I know what you're talking about, John, and there have probably been in the last 3 or 4 years that have happened that way. And if it goes onto the regular order calendar and it's on the regular order calendar, it will take a BIR to pass that.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Okay, thanks.
That's right. Okay, any more questions? Okay, we have a first by Representative Stadhagen, a second by Representative Kale. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir, your bill passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Okay, next up will be HB 5 by Representative Pringle. Pro Tem Pringle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a simple little bill that just helps widows, orphans, and farmers.
Oh, hey.
It's not a local bill, but it does help widows, orphans, and farmers. As you know, the 3-judge federal panel did not uphold our congressional maps. And let me get... The court said, and I'm going to read this,
You got a pen. You got an extra pen.
the appropriate remedy is a congressional redistricting plan that includes either an additional majority black congressional district or an additional district in which black voters otherwise have an opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. And that's what they've told us to do, to draw a map with either an additional majority minority district or a district that allows black voters to otherwise elect a representative of their choice. And I believe the community of interest map that you have before you best addresses the issue the court has charged us with. This map, if you look at the current congressional districts, District 2 has a 30.12% black voting age population. My map, map, the community of interest map, has a 42.45% black voting age population in the 2nd district. The 7th district currently has a 55.26% BVAP. The community of interest map has a 51.55% BVAP. Other maps that are being presented to the members of this body, the opportunity map you will see has a 38.31% BVAP in the 2nd district and a 52.29% BVAP in the 7th. The VRA plaintiffs map, remedial map, has a 50.08% BVAP in the 2nd district, and the 7th district has a 54.5%. With that said, the issue becomes compactness, contiguity. Yes, sir. You should have the community of interest map in your
I don't
folder.
see it. Where is it?
I didn't put.
Where's the map, Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I don't see a map at all.
Okay, we don't have the copies of the map. We have the bill, but not a copy of the map. It was in the committee yesterday.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I just got here today, and I'd like to see the map. I mean, it's pathetic. I get up here and we don't even have a map to look at. I don't know what I'm voting on. I need a map. I need a map to see what it looks like.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Rogers.
Don't leave me down the path where the rabbit is. I don't know where the rabbit. I'm looking for the rabbit. The rabbit already gone.
Okay, we have a big map. Could you pass that big map through here, please? While we're waiting on some maps.
I'll hold it up because I only have one copy of it.
Okay.
Don't do it like that. Please don't do it that way. Run some out. Thank you.
Mr. Rogers.
That's what I need to look at. I'm blind anyway.
Is this
Yeah, that's
that
it.
map?
Okay, anybody in particular need to see this map? We'll get it brought down there to you.
They run some off, Mr. Chairman, so everybody have a copy.
Okay, while we're waiting on a copy of the maps, Representative Chestnut, would you like to say a few words? Or you want to wait on the map?
Yeah, if Mr. Pringle is up to a few questions.
I would love to answer your questions.
Okay, so
Thank you.
I had a chance to read the case last night. I read it last month also, but had a few questions that came to my mind on this. So, in drawing this map, what's the standard that you use for complying with the Voting Rights Act?
We feel this map complies with Section 2 because it provides the minorities the ability to elect or defeat a candidate of their choosing, which is what Section 2 says.
Okay, so what were the factors you use?
We have election, hold a second on. I believe you received these last night. In the 2020 presidential election, this Congressional District 2 voted 47.53% Democrat, 51.56% Republican. In the 2020 U.S. Senate race, Congressional District 2 voted 50.23% Democrat and 49.77% Republican. In 2018, in the governor's race, the district voted 47.77% Democrat and 52.23% Republican. In the 2018 Attorney General's race, it voted 50.97% Democrat and 49.3% Republican. And then we also used the committee guidelines.
Okay, let me ask you this question then, because in the Supreme Court case, they didn't mention Democrats and Republicans. They mentioned black and white. Do you have that breakdown upon voters, black and white voters?
We have no way of knowing the voters, whether they were black and white when they went to the polls. I don't have access to that information.
Okay, they do have exit poll data. Okay, so another question is, what is it about your new map that makes it satisfy the VRA as opposed to the 2021 map?
This map, the second congressional district, again, it increases the minority population from 30.12% to 42.45%. Black voting age population.
So right now, the black voting age population is what?
30.12%.
And it moves it to
42.45.
42.45. how does that make it an opportunity district, though? And let me say this: the Supreme Court noted that black voters tend to vote 92.3% of the time for a preferred candidate, while white voters tend to vote only about 15.4% of the time for the preferred candidate of choice of black voters. So if this is in the record, this is a fact, and that white voters also vote in a block in Alabama, which is why you don't have any black elected officials statewide, then how does that make District 2 an opportunity district? And how does it apply, or how does it comply with Section 2 jurisprudence, and in specific, the Jingles factors?
Well, under Jingles, you remember they have to be compact and contiguous in communities of interest. And that becomes the debate we're having. I mean, Senator, the CLC map, their, quote, minority districts, District 7 is only 49.38%, and District 6 is only 39.61%. And the sponsor of that bill, will argue, it still performs as a clear Section 2 compliance map.
Go ahead, say that again, I missed it.
The sponsor of that bill says that it will perform as a map that allows minorities the opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice. That's coming from.
Who's that coming from?
And then I've got the Singleton Congressional Plan has two districts, one of which is 46.86 and the other one's 41.59. And that
But
plan.
I'm not
sponsor-
asking about that plan, though. I'm asking about your plan and how it, and I don't want to conflate different maps with each other right now. I want to talk about your map because the Jingles test, I think it clearly deals with looking at those factors to make sure that those factors are met in order for a map to meet
Thank you.
to meet compliance with the VRA. And so I think if we start talking about different maps, then the only map that I think you can compare it to would be the VRA remedial map. And the reason why I say that is because the VRA remedial map, we know the Supreme Court of the United States has approved this map. This map would meet all the Jingles factors and the test. The district court said it, the Supreme Court affirmed it. So this is the only map that has met the scrutiny of the eyes of federal judges.
I would like to read that. I've never read
Okay,
the VRA.
you haven't
the
read
VRA
that?
map was drawn by the plaintiff's attorneys.
You want me to find it and
Yes, sir.
read it to you?
I've never read that. I'd appreciate.
Members, while he's looking for that, I want to say that the reapportionment committee's had 3 public hearings. I'm going to give members time to speak on this, but this kind of stuff that went through those meetings that they had prior to today, this committee is not, doesn't have the resources to pick a map. So we don't have legal resources. We don't have the numbers. All we're here to do to approve or disapprove his bill. His bill was approved by the reapportionment committee, and we're going to either pass it or not pass it in this committee. As far as changing maps, we really don't have the authority or the know-how to do that. That comes through the reapportionment committee. Just keep that in mind. Thank you. Go ahead, Representative.
Yeah, you got your mic.
What I'm hearing you say is this is
Okay, Mr. Rogers, please turn your microphone on.
I thought I was talking loud enough. What I hear you say, when we bring this map out of committee today, it will be on the floor. When y'all bring y'all map out of committee today, really, it's going to be on the floor when tomorrow or when?
I would think so.
Okay, so I don't have the floor. You got the floor, so I got a couple of questions later on. But so you telling me right now that wherever we bring this no good map out of here today, y'all will force it down our throats on the floor tomorrow?
Yes, sir. This is not a
Okay,
mapping
you asked my
committee.
question, right?
Okay, we're going to go ahead with Representative Chestnut. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to point you to. It's on page 12 of the opinion, of the slip opinion, written by Chief Justice John Roberts, says that none of the plaintiff's maps, right, contain any tentacles, appendages, bizarre shapes, or any other obvious irregularities that would make it difficult to find them sufficiently compact. Plaintiff's maps also satisfied other traditional districting criteria. They contained equal populations, they were contiguous, and respected existing political subdivisions such as counties, cities, and towns. We agree with the district court, therefore, that the plaintiff's illustrative maps strongly suggested that black voters in Alabama could constitute a majority in a second reasonably configured district.
Did they name that? Because there were a lot of maps presented to the court. I'm not sure they're talking about that map specifically. Do they specifically say the VRA map? Or they say the plaintiff's maps illustrate it? Non-specific map.
They're saying that all of the it says none of the plaintiff's maps contain any, that's how it starts. And it ends with saying that plaintiff's illustrative maps, plural, strongly suggested that black voters in Alabama could constitute a majority in a second reasonably configured district. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the Supreme Court criticized of Alabama's mapping was that Alabama only did about 2 million configurations of maps, whereas you could get into the trillions of maps using the algorithm that creates the maps.
Let me correct you. The state did not do that. The plaintiffs, the court hired somebody, a demographer in California, and he took a map, he took a computer, and he moved race to the priority, overriding priority of what he would use to draw a map. And in 2 million attempts, he never produced a map that had 2 majority black districts. If you also use the other Jingles test of compactness and contiguity, not splitting. So I didn't run 2 million. The legislative office never ran 2 million. That was the plaintiffs, the court's appointed demographer in California that did that. And you know, if you run 2 million and you don't get it, why run 1 trillion? I mean, the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and getting up with the same result. I mean, he did 2 million, he never got it. It was not us. So that was the court-appointed demographer.
Yeah, but what I'm telling you is that I know you're saying that it doesn't make sense to you, but I'm telling you what the most powerful court in the United States said. Yeah. That argument was shot down. They said they don't find it compelling because the maps, you can actually configure trillions upon trillions of maps. So to say that you cannot come up with when black people in Alabama, right, you agree with me, are a cohesive group, right? In particular, I grew up in the Black Belt. The Black Belt, I am a descendant of the same folks who plowed and tilled the land. And there are many others who live in the Black Belt who are descendants of the same people. And so there's a cohesiveness there, right? That's part of the Jingles factor. It's a community. The Black Belt is a community of interest. Would you agree with me on that?
If you say so, I have no reason to dispute it.
Okay. And well, the Supreme Court said the Black Belt is a community of interest. Would you dispute the Supreme Court? Would you dispute Justice Roberts, who was appointed by a Republican president?
I'm not an attorney, sir. So.
Okay. Well, if the Supreme Court says that the Black Belt is a community of interest, and your map is called the community of interest map, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then tell me why would your map crack the Black Belt in two and take out Dallas County, where I live, and Lowndes County, and connect us to the Wiregrass? Those are not the same. that's not a community of interest. This map is cracking, which is a violation of the Voting Rights Act.
I believe the plan you're talking about, well, my plan, let's get back to your VRR plan. It was produced after the Supreme Court ruling. It was not a plan before the court at the time. It was produced after. And I'd also like to point out to you that I have sworn deposition from the plaintiffs that said they would accept a map that had districts in the 30 and 40% that they would perform as a majority-minority district for the purposes of redrawing. After they won, they changed that and now are saying they won't perform. So you have it before maps, before the Supreme Court ruling, and then you have arguments after the Supreme Court ruling. The goal line got moved down the field. They were saying in sworn deposition before the court, they would accept 40% districts. Now they're saying they have to be 50% or more. So the line's moving on me, you know. And then VRA plan was, you know, it is a map that was done after the court ruling. And my plan, the black belt is only in 2 districts. It's only 2 districts now.
But you're cracking it at the worst part of it, which is right through Dallas and Dallas County and Perry and Wilcox. You're taking.
Okay.
I mean, would you agree with me that Dallas County and Lowndes County have similar? You know, they're similar counties, right? These were Southern antebellum run counties, right? Most of the black people that live in the state of Alabama are concentrated in the Black Belt and in major urban areas, correct?
So it's your contention the black belt we should only be looking at the black belt for the population and not going outside the black belt?
No. What I'm saying is that the black belt, I'm just saying what the United States Supreme Court said. Mm-hmm. Black belt is a community of interest, right? Because your guys argue that the Gulf shouldn't be disturbed, that Mobile shouldn't be touched. And the United States Supreme Court rejected that idea. And then they turned around and said that the black belt was a true community of interest. So why would you come with a map that cracks the black belt? And essentially, Representative Terry Sewell, I mean, you're literally trying to kneecap her because Dallas County is where she was born and raised. Lowndes County is where all of her mother's folks live. I mean, that's her strongest part of her, of her district.
Exactly. She represents part of the black belt, where her family's from, where she's come from. But because of population deviations, remember, I have to have a 0 population deviation, and we're trying to keep counties whole. I can't just split Dallas County to put her mother's house in there.
No, I'm just saying that if it's a community of interest and the Supreme Court has declared it to be, right? Do you want me to go to the page and you want me to read that out?
I believe you, but do you think Mobile's part of the black belt? Is Mobile part of the black belt, the traditional black belt? The counties you talk about, the black belt, is Mobile part of the black belt? Is Washington County part of the black
belt? There
belt?
are parts of Mobile County that are very similar.
In what way?
Because these are folks who come from the area, come from the black belt. There are many folks that I know that live in Dallas County that have relatives that live in Mobile.
But Mobile is not part of the black belt.
No.
It's not considered traditionally part of the black belt.
No.
It's not. See, I agree with you. Mobile and Baldwin County are a community of interest. We are uniquely tied together because on the west we have Mississippi, on the east we have Florida, and to the south we have the Gulf. We are uniquely tied together because of the geography of the state of Alabama.
Once again, justices on the Supreme Court, including Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Roberts, disagree with you.
I understand. And they also were calling it Baldwin County and not Baldwin County through the whole hearing. So,
Representative Chestnut, is that about it? Can we let somebody else?
That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Yes.
I got
Hey,
about
Representative
half.
Rogers?
We can get down to here, but somebody can talk first. But I want to know one thing before we get to me is that Y'all named this map.
If we're gonna do let's don't do part of it. If you want to go ahead and go now.
Well,
go
I'm
now.
gonna do. Hey, I got so much. I mean, y'all hear me blindsided here.
Okay, well, let's come back to you. Okay, who wants to
Okay,
be next?
now before you get there, I'm asking one question. Before you get there, y'all
Okay.
name y'all map the community interest map, right? But y'all released the community to Monday. So how did they say I'm here could be the community interest map? Y'all released the map Monday.
Actually, Mr. Rogers, that's not correct. We had a public hearing. We were taking public input into these maps up until Thursday afternoon. And as soon as we could put the finishing touches on this based on what we learned in the public hearings, we released the map to the members of the reapportionment committee on Friday.
So y'all named this community interest map, but y'all come with a map that nobody's seen but y'all today. I mean, I've been following the thing for a long time. I was expecting this, but y'all released the map really Monday.
It was released Friday, the members of the reapportionment committee, after I had had public hearings and taken input from the public on what they wanted on the maps.
After they had public hearing, y'all decided to come with your own thing instead of what the public kept telling y'all. Is that right?
Well, I mean, we can, there are multiple maps that are being introduced right now.
Okay. Well, take consideration. We had a black person run last time, I think in that same area. And same thing, you put back together and couldn't win. So what makes you think that you're going to come with I mean, of course we had to redraw the thing anyway. Y'all going to put a map with so skewed that you can really try to destroy black representation in both areas. That's what it looks like to me. So what I'm asking you point blank is this, that it's just try to be fair about the thing. So therefore, the courts have ruled, the Supreme Court, it ruled that you got to create a district where you have a reasonable chance of two minority folks, black folk, you want to call them, winning. But you and I both know that where y'all got this map screwed, that is not going to happen. So now you got one district 42% or 44%, or both of them 44%. Is that right?
Yeah.
My plan is in the second district is 42.45, which again, I have sworn testimony from the plaintiffs that a district of that number or lower would satisfy the Voting Rights Act and provide an opportunity for a protected class of citizens to elect or defeat a candidate of their choosing.
Well, last time, I think in 1 year, not too long ago, they had a black person running the area. And it had the same percentage. I can't remember the person's name, but I remember it happening, and it didn't work. So therefore, what makes you think all of a sudden it's been a difference? The only way you're going to get the two districts, you got to have at least 50.1% or 50% in both districts. And let's be realistic now. You know that, I know that. I mean, everybody's panel know that. You can't come with say a fluid district of 35 or 40% and say you got a risky chance to win. And then the other question I can ask you is this: that did you count the prison population in this stuff? I heard somebody told me that I got a recall today that y'all counted the prison population in some of the maps trying to skew the map. Is that right?
We use the official census numbers. Whatever the United States Census gives us is what the numbers we use. And again, I am using what the United States Census gave me to run the numbers in this, period. And if they include the prison population, then they are included in mine. And also, remember, I want to emphasize this. We have a solid majority-minority district in 7. It's the second district that, according to the plaintiffs, before they won, were perfectly happy with 40% BVAP districts. They thought they would perform. They had no problem with it.
Well, I'm here to tell you right now, I'm looking at this and all this that there's no way where this map is screwed that you can get that you're gonna get a minority person to a black person winning in a district.
I think if you have a well-funded candidate, the question becomes: is the last candidate you're talking about, was that candidate funded? Did they have an operation?
Ran a damn good campaign.
Well, I mean, did they have the money to fund the campaign?
I don't know the whole thing is just that. What surprised me is this: is that y'all have got together. All of a sudden, y'all. I mean, I've been watching it on TV because y'all look good on TV. Some of y'all do, but some of you don't look too good. So anyway, y'all have gotten together and come out and push a map out here. I know Chris even gave me something, and I know when I'm looking at it, this ain't what's written on. It ain't what the bird left on the tree limb. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to want us to accept a map that the Supreme Court already going to rule against. We come out better just ditching the whole thing and just not have a special session, go and let them draw the map.
Well,
Well, that's what's gonna happen anyway. So don't send me a bag of gumdrop telling me that y'all were being fair when you held this map out completely until Monday. And you didn't shoot fair by letting everybody know what y'all gonna do. I knew what you were gonna do, but I kept telling what's gonna happen, but you did exactly as I predicted. So what I'm asking you is be fair to us. Give us a fair shot at winning the election.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask parliamentary
Yes,
that
ma'am.
we move the agenda, and if you've spoken once until other people have spoken and we come back?
Well, you
Because we're
cut me
going to
off,
be
Ms. Moore.
here a
You cut-
while.
oh, you cut me off?
We're going to be here a
Ms.
while.
Moore, you cut me off? I'm not through talking.
Parliamentary,
I'm through
I'm
talking.
not.
I don't care what no damn parliament say. I ain't through talking.
We came in to go by an agenda. All I'm asking, so we won't sit here forever, Mr. Chairman. No offense to anyone
But I'm-
here,
I got
is
it,
that
Mr.
we
Chairman.
move on
I got it,
and
Mr. Chairman.
everybody speaks before second
got it, Chair.
person
I got it,
speak,
Chairman,
but you
Chairman.
are in charge.
I got it, Chairman.
I'm gonna let Mr. Rogers speak, and when he gets done, he'll be done.
I'll
Okay,
be
Mr.
done.
Rogers, finish up, please.
All right, the question I want to ask is that why do you, when you skew a district, we all know you got to have a district with at least 50% in each district to have a fair shot at winning the election. We know we got to have that. So why would you come to a district with 47 or 42% and say that's an influence district? Because it's not the numbers just don't work.
If you understand that we are trying to avoid racial gerrymanders like the VRA plan has, the VRA has 3 distinct racial gerrymanders where they break into a county and systematically go in and pull black voters out of that county and move them into another district. It's all drawn along racial lines to separate blacks and whites along racial lines in order to achieve a political agenda. It's called packing.
Well,
A racial gerrymander.
That's what we fighting now, packing.
that's
Hey,
what-
we fighting packing from back in the old days, trying to bring it back. That's why Supreme Court ruled like they ruled, because we trying to get away with packing. You know? But I'm a face right there, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
we all
thank
sitting
you,
here
Mr.
knowing that this is not a map. We talked about it all. I mean, I've been watching it on TV when y'all had the committee. This map was nowhere to be seen. Now all of a sudden it pops up, and we got to vote on this map.
Yeah, well, you,
And again, I was still in the process of taking public input, and I couldn't, how can I release a map before I'm through taking public input? I mean, the purpose of having public hearings is to get public input so I can draw a map. And after the public hearing adjourned, we took the information we gathered, we put a map together as fast as we could, we released it to members of the reapportionment committee as fast as we possibly could. I mean, you remember the court told us we had 3 weeks to do this, and we went to the court and asked them to give us until the 21st to give us more time in order to draw maps so we can have a conversation. What the court gave us, there would have been no conversation and no ability for this committee to hardly meet.
okay,
So we're
thank you.
doing the best we can under a very compressed time frame.
Well, I disagree
That the
with
court-
Representative Lawrence, your turn.
I disagree with that, no, of course, because I talked to people.
You're recognized, Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pringle, I have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. First off, could you explain to me the major reason or the major part of the Supreme Court decision that brought us here today?
The court ruled that we needed appropriate remedy is a congressional redistricting plan that includes either an additional black majority congressional district or an additional district in which black voters otherwise have an opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. They did not feel like the congressional plan we passed in 2021 did that.
And so, with the map that you have presented here today, you feel that that gives those black citizens of the state of Alabama the opportunity to do that?
Yes, I do.
In what way you feel that way?
Well, the 7th district is a majority-minority district, and the 2nd district is a district that's proven through its voting patterns it can vote for and will vote for Democratic candidates over Republican candidates. The same thing the plaintiffs argued before the court case. They were perfectly fine with the district, these numbers. They were fine with it. Now they're not, but before, I have sworn testimony from the plaintiffs that they were fine with districts in the, below 40%, actually.
But you mentioned Republican and Democrat. We're not here. The Supreme Court didn't bring this back to us to deal with Republican and Democrat. It was specifically based on black voters having the opportunity to choose a candidate of their choice. And I don't see nowhere in the state of Alabama or in the nation that we can choose a candidate of our choice without having a majority of blacks in that district. And if the Supreme Court said that we should have 2 congressional districts that does that, this community of interest map only gives us 1.
It says 1 or an additional district in which black voters otherwise have the opportunity to elect a representative of their choice. It gives, in this district, I firmly believe in my heart of hearts, the black citizens of 2nd District will have the right to nominate the person of their choice, and with their voting, they would elect the candidate of their choice who received their nomination.
Also, you were mentioning in your discussion with Representative Chestnut, as he talked about the Black Belt, and you mentioned that Baldwin County and Mobile County was communities of interest. Could you explain to me, how do you feel that Dallas and Lowndes County are communities of interest with counties like Henry and Houston County?
Because they're part of they're an extension of the Wiregrass, same as Macon County and Bullitt County, Pike County.
So you feel Lowndes and Dallas is an extension of the Wiregrass?
Well, they're in that Black Belt region. Bullitt County, Macon County.
So you feel that Macon County and Henry County are communities of interest?
They're both, and doesn't highway, the road system connect them?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is your definition of communities of interest?
That's people who work and live together. I'm gonna let the court decide.
I think that's where we're going to be back. Also, I think we've probably gone over this, but I'm not sure. Where did this map come from? Who drew this map? Were there any output from anybody outside of the state of Alabama as it relates to having this map drawn?
The attorney that works for the committee and the demographer that works for the attorney.
But that didn't answer my question.
I told you who, and myself and Senator Livingston.
Were any of those individuals that reside outside of the state of Alabama?
No.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Representative Lawrence. Okay. Ms. Boyd, Representative Boyd.
Thank you so much. Representative Pringle, relax. We're going to be here just a little while. And as he said earlier, the prior speaker, we are not here to look at D's and R's. That's not our purpose that the court sent it back to us. We're here to look at fairness, not violating any more of the guidelines. I need you to help me a little bit so I can help other people. When actually was this map drawn? I'm going to address it in questions and answers so it can be recorded, because this is serious business, which needs to, if necessary, go back to the court. So when was it drawn and when was it released to the committee? The answer is?
The final version of this map was finished on Friday and released Friday to the reapportionment committee.
I didn't get it.
The final version of this map, after the public input, Remember, we were still listening to the public, and we had to digest what we heard on Thursday. The final version was finished Friday and released to reapportionment committee on Friday. As fast as
I'm
we
going
could
to
get
give a timeline. I'm not going to interrupt you because before I finish, I'm going to give a timeline. All right, in the committee, much talk has been made of the timeline and the shortened timeline that we had to review. Now, what kind of time situation did the delay cause us to have to just wait for MAP's final version to be passed out to the committee? If I make no mistake, did we not get these, correct me if I'm wrong, in just a few minutes we waited on them to go and do a copy of this map? Maybe I'm confused. Would you answer for me?
I'm confused as to what the question is.
She's saying she just received the map today. So when was the map actually released so it could be seen by other members?
It was released to the committee on Friday evening. It was passed out of committee yesterday, and it was sent to the other members. It's supposed to be emailed out to everybody yesterday.
Right. And the media and everywhere.
Yeah, I know it was released on a tweet. All the maps were released yesterday on a tweet. But my understanding is that the legislature released the maps to the public yesterday after the committee meeting.
All right, were we not supposed to adopt the guidelines at the first public hearing?
That was a plan, but members of the committee wanted to put it off so they could read them and study them. So we weren't able to adopt them until the second meeting.
All right, let's get down to facts about the timeline. On November 2021, we received the original legal filing. In January 2022, the state requested for a delay in the federal codes. On October 2022, oral arguments. June the 8th, 2003, that opinion was released. Now, we knew at the time, when I say we, I'm a part of the redistricting committee. We knew at the time that redistricting had to occur. All right. So on June the 27th, 2023, we had our first public hearing. At that hearing, guidelines were supposed to be adopted, but Chairman Pringle delayed the adoption of these guidelines. The delay of the guidelines was later used to justify the lack of progress on reviewing maps and the lack of public notice on those maps that were submitted. July 7th, 2023, deadlines for submission of the map came from non-legislators, anyone who wanted. I'll stop right there before my last section. If you have any comments or if I were in error, as what I stated, to be recorded for the record. Okay, moving on. July 13th, 2023, there was a second public hearing. Guidelines were adopted, and only 3 of those plans were discussed. On July 17th, 2023 was the final public hearing. Note, I want you to pay attention that this public hearing, scheduled last minute, was due to the failure of the committee to decide upon a map that was previously done. There were 10 plus maps. Many were released to the committee, on Friday, July 14. New maps never posted to committee website or released to the public. Hard copies were available to the public at the meeting, but those copies ran out. How can you justify that we have fully done our duty as adopting any map without looking at the timeline and the way it was presented? You have it.
That was the timeline the federal court gave me. I asked for an extension to give us a little bit of time to work on this. They granted me a short extension, and we worked as hard as we could, as fast as we could, given the circumstances, to produce the information we needed as rapidly as possible. And we did the best we can. There's nothing nefarious. We were trying to get stuff out as fast as we can. We got overwhelmed by plans who were sent in.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Ms.
And one other question.
I'm
Okay.
going to make one summary question for myself personally. I am praying a little prayer that I can say this tactfully but truthfully. I've lived in this state all my life. Been lucky to graduate from high school, and I don't care if we know about age, in 1954 when the Brown versus Board of Education decision came down. I know we're not here to talk about education, but we are here to talk of my state and a process. All my life, what I could ever remember is my state refusing to do the right thing without parties, even when we knew the right thing. My time is short here, Representative Pringle. I've paid my dues, and I think I can make this statement while my eyes are opened. I don't know when my state will come to realize, let's step up to the plate. Let's find that extra battle that we got back there to do the right thing, and don't continue to allow the courts to have to force us to do what we know is right. To God be the glory, and I pray that that day will come when we face a real issue and do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Like I said, the role of this committee is to bring this bill up for a vote, and at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Okay, do I have a second? Okay, okay.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
And the reason why I'm emphasizing these election results, because the plaintiffs have done so much in their filings to talk about racially polarized voting in the state, and that's reflective in the outcome of these elections, is they constantly talk about racially polarized voting. So that's the reason why I put the vote results in front of you with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, call the roll when you're ready.
Representative Sells?
Yes.
Point of order. I want to ask a question. In parliamentary procedure, when the motion is made and it's seconded, doesn't that put it up for discussion before the vote?
Didn't we just have discussion? We talked about it almost an hour. You need some,
Yeah, but I'm saying this is parliamentary procedure, though. Well, don't we adhere to that here?
well, typically we discuss it and then we vote on it. We've spent an hour discussing it.
It'll take me 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the last 5 minutes of the discussion.
Okay. On this community of interest map, the reason why this map is problematic is because, and you said something that triggered me to think about this. The Supreme Court said that black voters are politically cohesive and that challenge districts that the white majority vote sufficiently as a bloc to usually defeat black voters' preferred candidate. On average, black voters supported 92.3% of the time their preferred candidate, while whites only voted 15.4% of the time for that preferred candidate. The evidence in the court of racially polarized voting in Alabama was as intense, it's very strong, very clear. Even Alabama's expert witness, your expert witness, conceded that candidates preferred by white voters in the areas that he looked at regularly defeated candidates preferred by black voters. The court also observed that black Alabamians enjoy virtually zero success in statewide elections, and that Alabama campaigns have been characterized by overt or subtle racial appeals, and that Alabama's extensive history of repugnant racial and voting-related discrimination is undeniable and well documented. This is the United States Supreme Court saying this. And so when they give a charge to the legislature to draw a district that gives a reasonable chance for black people in Alabama to elect a preferred candidate, there's no way that you can draw a district that cracks the black belt and connects it with totally different communities of interest, and then give such a low percentage of 42% and say, with the history of this state, that this map somehow would comply with a directive of the United States Supreme Court. So I want to just ask this question. When do we, as a state, get on the right side of history? At least once. When do we do it?
I'd like to point out your VRA plan cracks the black belt into 2 districts. The Hatcher remedial plan breaks the black belt into 2 districts. There are multiple plans out there that pretty much all of them break the black belt into 2 districts. And you're right, the court did say that we had to provide the opportunity. The court did not give us license, though, to unconstitutionally racially gerrymander this state to achieve a goal. And if you racially gerrymander this state, you're going to bring additional litigation.
But what was the problem with taking one of the illustrative maps that was used by the plaintiffs in the lawsuit that the courts had already approved?
I'm looking at the VRA plaintiff's remedial map now, and it breaks the black belt in half. It splits it into 2 districts also. So does mine. I mean, so you're arguing against mine because it splits the black belt into 2 districts, and yet you're arguing that the VRA plan is fine because it splits it into 2 districts.
Where does it split the black belt? I mean, I see Lowndes, Wilcox, Clark, Dallas, Marengo, Perry. I mean, that's the heart of the black belt right there.
Montgomery, Bullock, Macon, Russell, Barber County.
We don't really consider, I mean, nobody seriously considers Montgomery as part of the black belt.
Okay, at this time,
Mr. Chairman, one question for you quick. Did you know that? Please.
yes, sir, Mr. Rogers, real quick, please.
Pringham, give me the percentage of black and white in both districts, in your map. Give me the percentage.
And the community of interest plan, once again, District 2 is 42.54% black voting age population. District 7 is 51.55.
What I'm saying is there no way you could come with a district with 50.1 or 50% in both districts? when black.
Without engaging in a grotesque racial gerrymander?
It's not racial gerrymandering. It just equality and fair play.
If you start splitting counties and cities up along racial lines, I contend that is a racial gerrymander.
No, it's not. No, it's not. To be fair, you and I both know we're playing with numbers here. You need at least come with both districts at least 50.1 or 50% in both districts. That's what the Supreme Court asked for. They asked for that. You want both to have at least 50.2 or 50.1, and you can do that if you combine them just right. Where's Birmingham on these maps? I was looking at where you should have both of Birmingham.
District 7 is 51.55% black voting age population. And again, the court said the appropriate remedy is a congressional district plan that includes either an additional majority black congressional district or an additional district in which black voters otherwise have the opportunity to elect representatives of their choice.
Well, case in point, I found that we had a black person run already, well funded in the same percentage numbers that you get in, they couldn't win. So now the court's gonna rule. I guarantee you, we going back to the courts, and you got to have at least 50.1 or 50.1 something in both districts would be fair, and that's what's going to happen. So therefore, I think keep us from going back to the courts. Let's go ahead and kill a plan out there that has 50% in both districts, minority, black in both districts. Be fair. There's no way. I mean, we've already shown that black can win in districts at 47 or 42%. Like they won't win. So to be fair, we got to have at least 50% plus 0.1, have 50.5% in both districts. So I mean, I think we can do that. I mean, we have maps that show we can do that easily without causing any problem. So how we come with a map with showing this with 47% and 42% in one district, 50.1 in one district? That's because you put the numbers wrong. I think if you put the black belt and put Birmingham where it's supposed to be and Montgomery where it be, you'll be fine with the numbers. The numbers come out just right.
Mr. Rogers, thank you for your comments. Representative Lawrence?
I just have one other question. Representative Pringle, you mentioned that when we were discussing the maps that initially the plaintiffs in the case agreed with the low 30% that you mentioned.
I didn't. I said 30% or under 40%.
On the 40%. And you say they had that on a sworn statement or?
Sworn testimony.
And then they changed it? Is there any way you can provide me, I know you probably can't do it now, but with a copy of that statement?
We can go through the record and find where they argue that 40% or under was okay. Yes.
Okay, clerk, please continue calling the roll.
Representative Bedsole?
Yes.
Representative Rogers?
No.
Dr. Boyd?
No.
Representative Butler? Yes. Representative Chestnut?
Nay.
Representative Keel? Yes. Representative Kirkland? Yes. Representative Lawrence?
No.
Representative Paramore? Yes. Representative Shaw?
Yes.
Representative Stahagen?
Yes.
Representative Wood?
Yes.
Representative Yarborough? Well, the yeas have it.
Okay, HB 5 passes. Thank you, Mr. Representative Pringle.
Thank you, ladies and
Pro Tem.
gentlemen.
Okay, next up is HB 1 by Representative McCampbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. It's truly indeed a pleasure to be here with you, and I got a map too. My map is a map of...
Do we have copies of it?
All you got to do is look. This is a map of injustice, that's all. As we deal with the budgeting process here in the state. And so my bill is a very simple bill. I'm just asking for a supplemental appropriation of $10 million from the general fund for the Pickens County Health Hospital. Why do I have this map? during the budgeting process, this map I talked about this map and how the whole Black Belt was denied funding for individual projects. Lee County had the same desire. Guess what? Lee County's project got funded. Pickens County project did not get funded. It's in the Black Belt, y'all. You still don't care nothing about the Black Belt. So that's why I'm here today, is to ask this committee to actually look at the fairness issue once again. We had a project in Marengo County, in the Black Belt, didn't get funded. Had one over in Montgomery County. It didn't get funded, but apparently there was some votes needed, and some people said, okay, we'll give it to them. Only gave them part of it. The Black Belt is still being denied the same opportunities as the rest of the state of Alabama. Now, believe it or not, this is a bipartisan issue, a real bipartisan issue. We just had an example of the voting that occurs. We already have had that, and we'll probably see it a little bit later. But this is a bipartisan issue. And so, Mr. Chairman, if it will please the committee, I'd like for my other member of Pickens County to state something regarding this issue, if it'll please the committee.
Yes, sir, sure. Representative Bolton. Bolton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. The funding that's requested here was actually initially allocated in the governor's supplemental budget for mental health in the 2023 session. And while we got all but $2 million of this allocation, appropriation of $10 million through the House and sent to the Senate, it was reappropriated in the Senate to several other different particulars that they had down in South Alabama, and it did not make it through conference committee. Now, this money was allocated in order to fund a adolescent mental health care facility in a portion of the old Pickens County Hospital that right now is standing stagnant. And of course, we want to get the hospital back open, but this is a needed component here for the state of Alabama, for the mental health department, in order to be able to have facilities to house adolescents that are in need of intensive mental health care, either for suicide threats or other type of behavioral issues that they need in-service, patient counseling for. What this provides for, and we have a very lengthy document that was prepared for the University of Alabama Facility Condition Assessment Group, along with Behavioral Health Facility Consulting, and it was issued to us on May the 31st of 2022, pardon me. And it is a full renovation of that portion of the hospital to allow for 17 inpatient beds for mental health. And what this will do is operate under the Certificate of Need for Children's Hospital. And Children's Hospital is running a backlog of patients that are awaiting a facility just like this. Now, I can't speak to what happened with the East Alabama facility. I only know they got a portion of their funding and ours got cut completely. Now, I'm dealing with a district. I've got 2/3 of this county, and Representative McCampbell has 1/3 of this county. And we just got shafted basically on our funding. Is basically what happened. Now, I've got an area over there that has an emergency department desert. My people, what we're trying to do is work at large to get health care back out there, and the mental health care is a component of that. Representative Boyd, did you
I
have?
want to move adoption. I'm waiting on you to finish talking.
Oh, sure.
I move adoption, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. But I could continue giving you facts, but the bottom line is this is a necessary facility. And yes, it will be a component of our hospital and eventually hoping to open up the emergency care hospital to provide continuing emergency care for our people that live in our district there. Because I could cite you plenty of examples right here from the podium about people that have died awaiting emergency medical care just in the last 3 to 4 months there in that area.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Representative Boyd. As the chairman, I'm going to say I agree with this. I understand it fully. I do not think this is the right committee to appropriate $10 million out of the general fund. So, but if you want to vote
I
on
want to alter. I thought about that. I wanted to move based upon available funding to the right committee. I agree with you wholly.
yeah, I'm going to give you my word that we will work on this in regular session when it's suited to do this and we understand the budgeting process and we got the budgeting people in place to do this. If y'all would do that, and I think that's okay with
But
Representative.
it's not the first step, though, to get it out of here for it to be looked after. They're going to take care of the budgetary. They aren't going to do it if we don't need it. So I think we ought to vote it out and then let the proper areas deal with it or not deal with it. Because this is the first step. Am I wrong?
Yes, we did discuss this with the General Fund Chairman Reynolds this morning and yesterday. And he's aware of this, the bill coming to the State Government Committee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we're going to vote it up or down. Okay, clerk,
Roll call.
okay, clerk, call the roll.
Representative Sells,
No.
Representative Bedsole,
No.
Representative Rogers, Dr. Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Butler. No. Representative Chestnut,
Aye.
Representative Keel,
No.
Representative Kirkland, Representative Lawrence,
Yes.
Representative Paramore, Representative Shaw,
No.
Representative Stahagen,
No.
Representative Wood, Representative Yarborough. The nays have it.
Okay, the bill did not pass, but I
Thank
am
you,
on the
Mr.
General
Chairman.
Fund Committee, and I look forward to working with you during the regular session.
Yes, sir. I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Representative England, HB 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you for the recognition.
Yes, sir.
All right, I am presenting what's in front of you is labeled as the VRA plaintiff's remedial map. If the bill itself makes it to the process, it's going to be called the Figures Congressional Map. And I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because I know that you've had a really long discussion about a previous map, and some discussion about this map came up during that discussion. So the map that results, the map that you see in front of you results from some remedial process in Alabama, and whether that map results from the legislative process or the courts, it must effectively provide an opportunity for Black voters to elect their candidate of choice. In Alabama, because of highly racially polarized voting, that means the creation of a second majority Black district or close to it is necessary. The court's order in compliance with Section 2 requires us to do remedial measures. The federal court's order called for 2 districts that provide Black voters an opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. The appropriate remedy is a map that includes 2 districts in which Black voters either comprise a voting age majority or something quite close to it. Compliance with Section 2 is a fact-specific endeavor that requires analysis of the level of racially polarized voting in the state. a required component of the Gingles test recently affirmed by the United States Supreme Court in Allen versus Milligan. That racially polarized voting analysis has demonstrated that for black voters in Alabama to have an opportunity to elect a candidate of choice, districts over 50% black voting age population or something close to it is necessary. The federal court also concluded that voting in Alabama is highly racially polarized. Therefore, black voters have less of an opportunity to elect their preferred candidate. Maps that don't create majority black districts are not likely to be compliant with the court's order because they are not likely to effectively create opportunities for black voters to elect their candidates of choice. The black population in Alabama is both large and geographically compact enough to make up more than 50% of 2 congressional districts. So with that in mind, let's focus on the plan itself. That's the one that's in front of you. The VRA plaintiff plan creates 2 black opportunity districts in Alabama that keep the black belt communities of interest whole while largely maintaining the rest of the state's map and only introducing 1 additional county split from that map, from the original map. The black voting age population by district would be in District 2, 50.08%. In District 7 would be 54.43%. Most of the state's map is kept intact. The original map is kept intact with only changes being made to meet the court's order of creating 2 districts for black Alabamians to elect a candidate of their choice. It keeps the northern districts as similar to HB1, the original map that was passed, as possible. Districts 4 and 5 are kept the same as in the original map. Districts 3, 6, and 7 closely follow the original map's configuration, maintaining about almost 90% of the same constituencies. Districts 1 and 2 were the only districts significantly redrawn in order to create a second black opportunity district. District 2, the new Opportunity District, unites black communities throughout the Black Belt in the southern half of the state, including all of Montgomery and the cities of Tuskegee, Phoenix City, Eufaula, Dothan, Troy, Greenville, and Mobile. District 1 maintains 66% of the same constituency. Changes include losing population in Mobile to the new Opportunity District and picking up Covington County, Coffee County, Dale County, Geneva County, and part of Houston County. Black Belt communities of interest are protected and kept whole in the map before you. The new Opportunity District unites black communities throughout the Black Belt in the southern half of the state, including all of Montgomery and cities as mentioned before. All 18 black counties are kept within, Black Belt counties are kept within the 2 black opportunity districts, District 7 and 2. None of the 18 Black Belt counties are split. So that is just a general overview. And I want to think it's important to note that the map reflects a consensus of the plaintiffs' groups involved with the Allegan and Milligan lawsuit, which found that the state violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in crafting a congressional map with only 1 congressional district, despite a black population in the state approximately 27%. Adopting this map will go a long way towards satisfying the court's orders. So, if you have, I'll be willing to answer any questions that I can, but that's all I have.
Question.
Representative Lawrence.
How you doing? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative England. Couple of questions. I know you gave an overview of the map and what it actually does. But one question I have, does this map ensure that black voters have 2 districts in which black voters have an actionable opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice?
Absolutely. Part of the analysis that was done on this map was to go back through election cycles to show that the map not only presents a population that's sustainable, but one that's also performed. I can actually provide you with numbers to support that, but the bottom line is, if we go back to, we have election performance that goes all the way back to the 2016 presidential election that demonstrates that both the performance in these districts, in both districts 2 and 7, performed to the extent that it gives black Alabamians the opportunity to elect their candidates of choice. And I can provide that information is necessary or is requested. But it's a lot.
Mr. Chair. I mean,
Yes, sir, Mr. Rogers.
what's
Representative Rogers.
the percentage black in both your districts? You know,
You have those numbers in front of you.
yeah, okay.
But as I said just a second ago, the percentage in, hold on,
7.
Okay, in District 2, can I help you with that?
sure, yeah.
District 2 was 50.8, 50.08, I'm sorry, and District 7 is 54.5.
Okay. Can I say, can I comment on that?
We just passed this paper out.
This makes more sense. Actually, it's a fairer map that I've seen. It makes more sense because we both know anytime you start drop down to 40-some% and taking in the prison population, it's not going to work. And so therefore, this makes much more sense. Thank you for this, okay?
Representative Chestnut?
Okay, one of the things that I want to say is, thank you for bringing this map. It's a very good map. I've had a chance to digest it over the last couple of weeks. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, do you see any tentacles or appendages or any weird shapes, salamander-like shapes on your map?
No, actually, the goal behind this map was to match as closely as possible the previous map that we passed while affording an opportunity for us to abide by the court's orders. So kept them compact, actually respecting Alabama's traditional mapping principles of trying to keep counties whole and so forth, so we minimize splits, and also to make sure we didn't create any of those, as you were alluding to, the salamander-type districts that reach across the state, trying to get to different areas. We tried to keep it as compact as possible to also, to meet the compelling state interest that we have in satisfying the Voting Rights Act.
So with this map, you still have equal populations, right, in all
Yes,
seven?
to one person. Deviation here is almost zero.
And it looks contiguous,
Yes.
right? And it seems sufficiently compact to me.
Yeah.
It
demonstrates that it's quite possible to draw a map that satisfies the court's directive and also maintains at least a 50% threshold in both the districts 2 and 7 to make sure that African Americans can have a chance to elect their candidates of choice.
And wasn't it the Supreme Court's ruling that as long as as a map could be drawn that constituted a majority in the second that applied traditional mapping principles and that was reasonably configured, it would meet the test? Is that correct?
Absolutely. It is the plaintiff's contention, and also this map that satisfies all three prongs of the Gingles test. And I think if this map were to pass, we would satisfy the court's directive.
Yeah.
I know it would satisfy the court's.
Yeah. Representative England, and no matter what this committee does, but wouldn't this be almost better suited as a sub or an amendment on the floor instead of having two bills up with two different maps? I mean, even if it doesn't pass this committee, you can still offer it as a sub or an amendment on the floor, correct?
I kind of get a feel where this is headed.
Well, I'm just wondering, do we want two bills that's got two different maps, or we just want to substitute this offered on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I think for the record, I don't mean to overstep my boundary, but I think for the record, we do, if we're going to offer it, I would like to have it on the record as a vote.
Okay, well, we can vote it up and down. Okay, well, I'll
Roll call vote as well.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, wait, okay, we got this.
Okay.
Representative Stadhagen had his hand up earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, just a quick question. In the southern region, is there 2 incumbents in 1 district on this map?
Yes, there would be. It would be in District 1.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Now, Mr. Chairman, why can't we take this map? We voted over, man. Get voted another one out. We
Well,
can
that's what
vote
we're
one
fixing,
map out.
that's what we're fixing to do, Mr. Rogers.
Hey, I make a motion we give this map a favorite report.
Okay, we're gonna put you down as a second. First, Representative Lawrence.
I think we ought to vote this map out.
Okay, and a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll when you're ready.
Representative Sells,
No.
Representative Bedsole,
No.
Representative Rogers,
Aye.
Dr. Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Butler, Representative Chestnut,
Aye.
Representative Cole, sorry, not here, Representative Keel, Representative Kirkland, Representative Lawrence,
Aye.
Representative Paramore, Representative Shaw,
No.
Representative Stahhagen,
No.
Representative Wood,
No.
Representative Yarborough. Nice have it.
Okay, bill did not pass, but thank you, sir. I'm sure we'll see it on the floor. Thank you. HB 6 has been carried over to this point. If there's no other business, we are adjourned. Thank
All
you,
right, thank
members.
you.